Hello, everybody. Good late night if you're in Europe right now, and good evening if you're here in the States. My name is LattMackey, and this is Bonk's Revenge on the TurboGrafx 16, or known as the PC Engine. I am joined by the one, the only, my good friend EvanGrill. Evan, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, awesome. So a couple of quick things here before we get started with this run, because this may be a console you've never heard of before or don't have a lot of experience with, which is, don't worry, you're not alone. The TurboGrafx 16, I'm actually going to be playing on the PC Engine, the core graphics. There's a couple different variants, and I'm playing on the core graphics. But the controller itself actually has turbo switches built into the controller. So for a speed run, it's totally legal, totally valid to use turbo switches and buttons and those kind of strats when playing through the game. So super fortunate, and we're going to take some advantage of it. Now, quick heads up. We're doing this charity for a very good cause. We are a COVID-19 relief, super important. And in the spirit of fundraising and philanthropy and all that good stuff, I will be donating per death, and my commentator, EvanGrill, will be doing so as well. There's going to be some death, folks. I'm going to die. There's actually intentional strats where I will take death, specifically for that reason. So join us, donate per death, and as Evan likes to point out, if I accidentally get a bonus game, myself and Evan will be donating a larger amount because that is not what you're supposed to do. It totally slows you down. So I'm going to get us started, and then Evan's probably going to take over there from me. The category tonight will be the expert category, and the categories just line up with the game modes. And all the game modes are: the practice is you play one stage, intermediate you play 4 stages, the expert you play the complete game. So that's what we're going to be doing. So let us get started. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go! Evan, tell us a little bit about Bonk and Bonk's Revenge.
So this is the second game in the series. It's the most popular speedrun-wise, probably because it's the easiest to control.
I would say best to control, but you say easiest, I say best. Fine.
Yes, it's a different engine from the other games. For some reason, all the other games use the same engine, but this one has its own engine, and it's just easier to walk around and manipulate. And you see him now jumping and spinning. That's where he's using the turbo controls. That lets the spinning actually maintain speed and lets you kind of hover in the air as you move through the air. The other major piece of this run that you're going to see right now is he's going to be grabbing meat power-ups. There are 2 levels of meat power-up.
Huge beef, bunch of beef.
Yes. The smaller meat is like a level 1 power-up, and you move twice as fast and you do twice as much damage. With the larger meat, which you can actually add the 2 together, so you can get a small meat and then another small meat, and you upgrade to the large meat. You move 3 times as fast and you do 4 times the damage. Carrying that meat power, using that meat power as often as possible is one of the major things in this run. Carrying it into boss fights is really important when you can. And you're going to see him grabbing meat constantly throughout the run.
There aren't a lot of places. The game is pretty linear as far as platforming goes, but all the routing you'll see has actually been done around where we get those power-ups. So it plays a pretty important piece of the speed run.
The other thing that you'll notice is that he's going to be grabbing extra lives in a world record attempt that you probably wouldn't grab them. But because the deaths that you have to take in the game are so close, even the slightest bit of extra damage can really mess that up. So you'll be seeing him grab a couple of extra lives throughout this run. That will pause it, and that will make you think, oh, he's losing time. It's just so that we can actually finish the game consistently.
Absolutely. And actually in the end game, depending on things, getting the extra lives here is a lot faster than later on in the game. So that's why we get them here. Makes it a little bit safer. And, the worst thing in the world is that game over screen. And we're going to really try hard to avoid that for this run. So that's why we get the extra lives.
So we're coming up on the first boss here. This boss is the only boss in the game that has a true quick kill. And essentially, he is doing damage to the boss right now by pounding the ground. So as soon as the boss comes out on screen, he'll be able to hit it and kill it, and that's what you saw right there.
Drat! So one of the things the entire Bonk series is known for is its bosses. A lot of them have these really big and bright sprites, and Bonk's Revenge is no different. We've come up with some nicknames for some of these bosses, obviously, the more that we've run it, but all of them have like this catchphrase tagline that they say after being defeated, and his is Drat, whatever that means. Do you have any idea what Drat actually means? I don't know.
I think it's just an expletive.
That makes sense. So once again, you'll notice that there's actually no meat power-ups in this level. So the idea here is to take my meat all the way to this. All the way here to this mini boss, and I'm realizing that the sometimes using the word meat could have some weird meanings, but we'll keep it going here.
Yeah, and you missed it by like just a few frames.
I did. It was so close.
But,
it's really tough carrying
the
meat power up to the end of that mini boss.
This is the first vertical stage that you'll see. This is a good opportunity for some donations.
Wonderful. We do have a $70 donation from Professor NES saying, "You made a good future," going towards the All Good Futures incentive for Sonic CD 2011. And just a quick reminder, ESA Together is a week-long online marathon that will feature speedrunners and score attackers from all around the world. We invite everybody, be it ESA regulars or first-timers, showcasing their best for you. ESA Together is supporting ESA and our other affiliated events' increased costs this year connected with the coronavirus outbreak. So please keep your donations coming.
Professor NES, thank you so much for the $70.
Yes,
really do appreciate it. We are moving as fast as we possibly can to the round 2 boss here, and affectionately known as the Witch Doctor. I don't know if that's the actual name of this
That's
boss.
the name that's in the manual.
It is, okay. I know I bring it up every time Evan we do this, but I couldn't remember if that's the actual name of it.
Yep. Yeah, the manual doesn't have all of the bosses spelled out, but this is one of the ones that they do.
And is his name Witch Doctor, or is it just called the Witch Doctor?
It's Witch Doctor. There's no article on the front of it.
No, doubt. So, the TurboGrafx 16 itself, it kind of, Evan, maybe you could talk a little bit about that. Like, it kind of came out towards the end of the NES as we moved into Genesis and Super Nintendo. Is that correct?
Yeah. It in the US and Japan, it came out at the tail end of right before the Genesis came out, or the Mega Drive in Europe, and at the tail end of the NES. It has similar power it's like kind of in between the two. So you can see it's much better than an NES, but it is still technically an 8-bit console, despite them saying it's a 16-bit console. I know that in Europe it did come out, my understanding is it was a PC Engine is what it was called in Europe, but it was a very limited release. Not a lot of people grew up with this as their console in Europe. Not a lot of people grew up with it as their console in the United States, but
this is true.
Matt and I both happened to have it when we were children.
In the U.S., a large portion of the library is these, is shooter types games, shmups, shoot 'em ups, things like that. But the more you get into the library, the more you realize there are actually some really wonderful platformers for the console. And obviously, I'm partial. Bonk's Revenge is my favorite. It's actually one of my favorite games of all time. So, but there are actually quite a few really good platformers, throughout the library of the system.
Yeah, and a lot of arcade ports. IREB ported almost all of their arcade games to the TurboGrafx 16.
That's a really good point. And in fact, in a few days, I'll also be running Ninja Spirit on the TurboGrafx 16, and that's an arcade port. It originally came out as an arcade game. Even has an arcade mode built into it.
Yep.
So go ahead, Evan.
I was going to say, this is going to be a situation where he's going to grab this meat, and he wants to carry it as long as he can. When he gets to the boss up here, every hit on the boss, if he has the small meat, which is what he should have, is worth 2 hits. And so it reduces it from a 5-hit fight to a 3-hit fight, potentially, which reduces the time. It's about 15 seconds per extra hit that you get in.
Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Whoa, okay, saved it. Woo, that was close.
You did save it. Jeez.
That was so close. That was not that. I can't believe that actually happened. But so we actually have a chance here to 3-cycle the boss, as Evan was mentioning. Like any game of this era, there is an ice physics, a level of some sort in this game, just like pretty much any other platform of the time period.
Yep.
Oh, dang it. I got hit. Okay, that's okay. So we're going to do 4-cycle here. We got the 1 hit on there. That's pretty good. I missed it by just basically a pixel there.
Yeah. This boss is probably the hardest hitbox to work with.
It's brutal.
She's elements like a pixel off, and you still get the hit in, but she hits you as well.
It's interesting, the Bonks series in general, because the games, for the most part, even as casual and blind playthroughs, aren't that challenging. But some of the bosses and some of the enemies have some really challenging hitboxes, like more challenging than they should be. And this boss is one of them, the ballerina. Her hitbox is like, it feels like it's this big sometimes.
This is a good opportunity for some more donations.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Please let me remind you that during ESA Together, the first 800 subs to ESA will be matched by a $2.50 donation from our sponsor HyperX. Let's smash that goal and work our way to another remote slot that you can all use. We are currently sitting at 371 of those 800 subs that will be matched, so there's still some way to go. And if you want to help out ESA and you maybe have a Twitch Prime sub just sitting there doing nothing, you can just hit it our way, and that would help greatly.
I am wearing some HyperX headphones right now. But you'll notice that there was actually no meat power up in that level. So once again, we're trying to get through this as fast as we can without having a power up. And it's definitely slower, as you notice, but there's no place you can actually get meat on that level. Oh, and we got the first skip.
First
go
two
ahead.
skips.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is the first of 2 skips. This skips about 40 seconds of the level, and then he's going to have another skip coming up. He's going to want to get some fruit here so that he gains some life, because he's very low on life there.
These tricks are not easy to pull off sometimes.
No.
I didn't miss it. Okay. Didn't get up high enough.
Okay, so
Missed the angle just a little bit.
So he's going to have to take this the long way.
Which gives you an opportunity to see more of the game. This is like bonus content. This is exciting.
Yes, there you go.
Try to sell it, man.
We're doing this for you.
You have to hit that enemy pretty precisely. The pixels window available there is pretty tight. And that's what I just missed the angle a little bit. So much easier if you're powered up there, but the speedrun route doesn't power up there. So that's why that happens sometimes, just like that.
So he's now getting to where he would have been off the skip.
Yeah, and that's an okay death there, actually, because we're going to power up our health anyway. And one of the cool things, or I should say good things about the deaths in this game is that while there is an animation, so it's pretty slow, you actually start, you just noticed, I brought my character back to life right where I died. So as far as like a casual or blind playthrough of this game, it's pretty forgiving. And so it's not the worst thing in the world if you have to, because some of these levels, especially your first playthrough, are going to destroy you in this game. But at least you don't have to like start back at the beginning and have to deal with that. We are working our way towards the boss of this level, which the Captain Crunch, Captain Hook. I'm sure I've thought I called this boss by like 8 different names, and some of them with profanity, some without. So.
Yeah. This boss is the official end of the intermediate category. So if you're wondering what an intermediate category looks like, it's about 12 to 13 minutes for most runners. The practice category is less than 3.5 minutes. So if you've never speedrun before and you're thinking about getting into it, it's a really great speedrun to learn, because you can learn a really fast route.
Absolutely. Very forgiving. So you'll notice that sometimes I spin and sometimes I'm just doing a direct bonk. As Evan mentioned earlier, I keep the turbo on the entire time on my button. So sometimes I'm tapping and sometimes I'm fully pressing. So if you see a mistake like where I over rotate or I land on my head on the ground, that's because I haven't differentiated between the tap and the full press. And if you were to pick up, this game's actually available on the Wii Virtual Console and some other places. If you play it there, you actually get a button that's mapped to the turbo button, so you don't have to worry worry about all that kind of stuff, and it makes the game actually a lot more enjoyable. I wish they had that on the original console. I would much more prefer that, but so that's what some of the speedrun has been actually learning and figuring out the best ways to approach the gameplay. And
at some point we'll have to make you a controller that just has separate buttons.
I would love it. Oh my gosh. This is stage 5, and this is the only level without a boss. So I'm actually going to be trying to play through this as fast as I can without going through a boss fight. But unfortunately, a lot of times we're going to have to take a death in the next part of this level. So let's see what happens. This is you'll notice that this is kind of a rehash of the very first level we played through. It's now just all filled with what looks to be lava. It's actually in the instruction manual. It's actually referred to as the same place. So.
Yeah, this single level here is the hardest level in the entire game.
Without a doubt.
Getting 0 deaths in this level is the target of a world record run, but I don't even know that the world record has 0 deaths.
The current world record holder is actually Great John, and I know he's done it without any death. Oh, that's going to be the problem. Yeah, that's a bad. See, and that's what happens when you try to force it. Woo, that was bad. Oh, we got lucky.
Yeah,
all those
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you want to take an intentional death just so that you don't slide down the hill, because you don't actually get to revive your character until he is stopped.
Mm-hmm. And I probably should have done that. That was probably my mistake, but
that's okay.
Oh, that was a good hit damage boost there. Okay, so we're going to take a little slightly safe here. Normally, I would just swim up the waterfall, but with all these guys chasing us, there's no reason to rush it. No reason to go crazy with it. Cutscene! Cutscene! If there's...
You can go ahead and...
Go ahead.
Read donations if you have any.
Sure thing. First of all, thank you, The Smoke CS, for your Twitch Prime sub. That's another $5 going towards ESA for future events. So thank you very much for that. And also, I was talking about our sponsor HyperX, and they don't only match the subscriptions, but they also sponsored some prizes that you can see at prices.esamarathon.com. We, for example, have 3 different headsets for a minimum donation of $25 over the whole stretch of the marathon. So if you've already donated like $10, it's only another additional $15 to get into that prize pool.
Awesome. Well, thank you,
So
HyperX.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the story for this game, just to catch you up. You may have seen the moon cut in half off in the distance during that cutscene. King Drool III, who is the grandson of King Drool from Bonk's Adventure.
You may have to write this down, everyone at home, just letting you know.
Has stolen half of the moon. He is also... you've been tasked by Princess Za to recover the other half of the moon. So what we are doing is we are slowly working our way towards a rocket to get to the moon itself, where we will finally face, after a boss rush, because this is a Bonk game, where we will finally face King Drool III.
King Drool III. The evil King Drool III. And I don't think you ever actually kill any King Drool in the game. It always looks like he just kind of flies away in every Bonk game.
Yeah, in the end of this one, we'll see a little cutscene where he flies away and he says, "I'll get you next time."
And sorry for just spoiling the game, but just letting you know, it's going to happen.
Yes, at the end of this game, Bonk wins. I apologize if that spoiled the game for you.
While the last stage is the toughest one, this is the most technical stage, and you'll notice there aren't a ton of enemies, but the platforming is quite precise here, so you really have to jump on your platforms correctly. I'm going to take a damage boost here. And we're here on Rocket Man, which is probably one of the most challenging bosses in the entire game.
Yeah, this boss can be cheesed by locking him in the corner, and Matt's going to try and do that, but it's very difficult to do consistently.
Fell right through, clipped through it. So we were close, but I had iframes going, and it makes it a little bit more challenging to get there. So we're going to take a little bit safer route here. When I missed that, okay, well, that's okay. We got this. And as Evan alluded to, just like in basically every Bonk game, there's going to be a boss rush, and we will see the Rocket Man again. And there is a cheese strat for him there as well, but... Okay, cool, we are done with round 6. So we're about to approach round 7, which is the last stage in the game. But just like almost every other Bonk game, it's like half the run is the last round.
Yeah.
We're going to be going.
This last round is about 12 minutes of the run.
It really is. So get comfortable. If you're drinking some coffee, now it's time to have a sip. Or perhaps you're having an evening beverage with whatever meal you might be eating. Take a moment. You got it. We got a moment, and we're off. There's 4 stages, 1 for each boss in the game, and then Rocket Man has his own little elevator. And they're completely different stages. They're completely new than what we played before.
And interestingly enough, they're actually entirely new tile sets. They're not represented elsewhere in the game, except for a couple of them are in bonus stages, but we don't play the bonus stages because that would just slow us down.
And they are about to also introduce a new mechanic, and that is the crab. You get a new character here. Oh, and I actually just got a frame perfect trick, but you wouldn't even notice. But if you press the D-pad, oh my God, I did it twice, right on the conveyor belts, you actually don't get. I'll show you what happens when this doesn't happen. Actually, maybe I won't, because I might actually get it 3 times. I've never gotten it twice like that. That was kind of crazy. The conveyor belts push you back a little bit, and they just cause a little bit of time. Oh, actually, you won't see it, so never mind. You just take my word for it that the conveyor belts slow you down. Oh, there we go, just like that. Okay, so that's actually what happened. And I didn't get the frame perfect input there. And it doesn't save a whole lot of time. It's only about, a second to 1.2 seconds, something like that. While Evan did mention the new tile set, for the most part, you see the same enemies in these stages, though. These helicopters can be one of the toughest enemies in the entire game.
Yeah, if you let them get above you, they'll just fly above you, dropping bubbles, which hurt you for some reason. But they will drop those bubbles, and they won't come down for quite a while, so they'll just kind of chase you through the level.
I am super thankful that we actually got through the helicopters. It's probably the one of the most stressful parts of the entire run. Many runs die there at Helicopter Land. And we don't have to face anymore for the rest of the game. We're back. Here's Captain. Captain is back.
Yep. And you can see how big of a difference this version of the fight is because he's powered up, how quickly this fight is over.
So much easier. Okay, just saying. So much better and so much faster when you actually have the meat power up.
Let's go ahead and do some more donations.
Sure thing. We have some very nice donation incentives that you can get your donations towards. So coming up next, more or less, will be 3 donation incentives for Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, which is about 7.5 hours off. I know, but that's the next incentive on my list, so that's the one I'm going to tell you about.
It's never too early to start.
That's true. And one of those is you can name the chocobo that will appear in the game. So if you have a nice idea for a chocobo name, we currently have Batmobile at $55 and Birdo at $30. If you want to support one of those names or have an idea of your own, get your donations in and make it happen.
Batmobile, I love it. Okay, I know what I'm donating towards. So this is the Witch Doctor again, and that stage is pretty self-explanatory, pretty kind of the same. I mean, there's nothing that special about it. It's pretty straightforward. This actually has some of my favorite music in the entire game, is this elevator stage here when we're back to a water stage. And because I got the skips, you actually never got to see Bonk swim at all. So just know that it actually does happen in the game in a casual playthrough. But if you're doing the speedrun and skipping, you don't get a chance to see this. But the music is not nearly as chill as this one is. And I love this part of the game because, at this point, you're starting to stress. Oh, man, I've got to run. We're going. Things are happening. And you get this really calm, relaxing, just chill out, enjoy your mood, kind of thing happening. So, oh, I need to get hit by that. There we go. Well, it's going to be a little bit different. There we go. We got it. Okay, cool. And we're once again the crab. And the crab is able to swim faster than Bonk can. So I actually do keep crab throughout this entire part. Evan, do you have a favorite stage in this game?
That's a good question. I think as weird as it is, I think I like the boss rush just because of the variety of the stages.
I agree. It's my favorite last stage or boss rush of any of the games. The whole game is my favorite of all the series, but it does a really good job of keeping it interesting and doing something different.
Yeah, the boss rush in Bonk's Adventure is literally walk down a hallway and fight the 4 bosses.
Yes.
You just walk into a boss room, fight a boss, walk down a hallway, fight a boss.
It happens after you've already walked down the hallway too, so don't even get me started. It's
oh yeah, you walk one way down the hallway, seeing them all, and then you turn around and you walk back down the hallway, and that's when you fight them.
Yes, and so we're back at the ballerina here, and you'll notice that I'm taking intentional damage. Our life situation is actually pretty good here, so I don't have to wait for... I can take the intentional death here. And that's just for speed purposes. You notice, like Evan said, we're not fully powered up here, so we want to figure out a way to get through the boss as fast as we can. The task, the tool-assisted speedrun, which I have to give a big shout-out to Memory Task for doing this a few years ago, actually is able to spawn a random drop to get a full meat power up here, and is able to take care of the boss in like 2 hits. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, apparently Bonk was just carrying that around with him. But that fight is much harder than the fight in the ice cave because you don't have the elevated platforms on the side to jump off of.
Yes, it becomes really challenging and really slow too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this is... Go ahead, Evan. I'm sorry.
I would say there's no real benefit to doing these tunnels or these rooms in any specific order. It's just the order that we've always done it in. I haven't seen any speedrunners come through and do it in a different order, but...
The one slight difference is that the only place that we know of that you can get extra lives without having to farm for RNG is the first elevator. So many of us, especially as you're learning the game, you go in that first elevator on the top left because you can get some extra lives and not have to kill your run and stuff like that.
Yeah. So with no meat power up here, he's not able to do the quick kill on this boss. So you get to actually see what the intended strategy is.
And that's the way you would do it if you were playing this casually. So the turtle. Yep. And we're screaming towards the end of the game here. We're going to see the Rocket Man fight again here. And I'm going to try, like Evan mentioned before, I'm going to try the same strat as I did the first time I played him.
So after Rocket Man, we're going to go straight into King Drool. And time for the game will be when he gets the final hit on King Drool. So we'll call it out.
I wonder if I should... Let's see here. That's going to be close. Nope. Okay. If this... Yeah, okay, cool. So... Yes, the Rocket Man has admitted defeat. I win! Okay, thank you. But it's not over yet, because now we have my second favorite music in the game, which is the final fight here against Drool.
This is my favorite music.
Yeah, it's so good, right?
Yeah.
And Drool is, of course, half the screen, as any good last boss fight would be.
Yep. So this can be done in a single cycle, which is one trip across and then one trip back. That would be really great. It doesn't look like Matt's going to do it
Only
this time.
Only a couple hits off, though.
Yes. So we do have time coming up in just a moment.
Yeah, we're about to do it. As long as I don't completely just fall apart here at the end.
Yeah. In a practice run last night, Matt did it in 4 cycles.
That's the embarrassing side. Time. Okay.
Time.
The 2 cycles is the acceptable. That's the acceptable amount. And then the 4 cycle is the embarrassment. I should just quit the game. What am I doing? But Drool can be kind of interesting to figure out, actually, too, if you're playing this casually. His hitbox, like every other Drool in every other game, is not intuitive. There's a specific spot, like his nose does damage. It's the whole thing that you have to watch out for as you're doing this. So, and this is of all the Bonk games, in my opinion, have some really good cutscenes to end the game with, and this one has my favorite, where you're the savior of Moonland. You have saved Princess Za. I'm glad the moon is. Wait for it. The moon is. Here it comes. Full once again. And because this is like the first time you've actually even met or seen this character, this next part seems a little bit out of place. So just letting you know right now, if you're all of a sudden, Bonk and Princess Za. Some things are happening. So there we go. Evan, thanks so much for helping out on the commentary and everything.
Of course, always.
And thank you, ESA, and also everyone around the world for coming together and supporting such a great cause. You don't know, this is such a helpful thing that we're all doing, and appreciate all of you who have donated and continue to donate. And thank you for allowing us a little bit of a showcase of the TurboGrafx 16 and Bonk's Revenge. My name's LattMackey. EvanGrill was on commentary. And thank you so much for having us. And stay tuned. There is still tons of Marathon left.